Good morning, interweb. Tom King, Terrence Stevens, the business of life in black and white. And today we have super guest star, Mr. Larry Gore. Good morning.
Luxury Larry Gore.
Good morning. Good morning, Larry. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, as our very first ever recorded guest, who better than Terrence's right-hand man, who he has groomed and shaped, although Larry might have groomed and shaped Terrence at the same time, and I think we'll probably talk about some of that today.
So we'll talk about.
Larry is the right-hand man of the T3 real estate empire, and we are.
What year is this?
This is my third year.
Third year.
Yeah.
Wow. 2021 was your start?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Started during the chaos.
During the middle of the pandemic. We slapped them into real estate coming from the corporate world. And what a transition that has been. The ebbs and flows, I think to this day, even 3 years later, the ebbs and flows of real estate, we are still learning.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And that's kind of what I want to dive into today. I think it'd be a fun topic. You know, we've the real estate world and similarly the mortgage world, big on building teams a lot of time to be able to support your clients as you get more and more business. And teams are great, and we can talk about that. And teams are also challenging. You know, personally, I've gone through some different team struggles and ups and downs, and you know, we're in the middle of a little bit of a rebuild now. So, just think it's a valuable conversation for other realtors. I think it's a valuable conversation for mortgage people, and frankly, I think it's a valuable conversation for probably a lot of our clients that have small businesses or run teams within the corporate umbrella. So,
you mind if I start this thing
please.
Off with a word of advice? Yeah, like. For those who are listening, who are thinking about expanding, building, growing, my word of advice is get out of your own way, right? It was one of my biggest lessons in the business is I thought I could and should do everything by myself because I have a certain level of quality and a standard that I was building and so on and so forth. But the reality is truly, you need more than just yourself to execute a great business. That's the reason there are CEOs and CFOs and COOs and you name it down the line of those that have their own rules, roles, responsibilities in business. And frankly, they're the nucleus of the business. And then you can build out and scale from there. But I almost did myself a disservice 3 years ago thinking that I could do this thing by myself because I was. And there's no scalability in that. There is no growth in that. You can only and will only have so much capacity to operate as a good business person by yourself. And so I thank God for showing me and maybe even pushing me to get out of the way and say, let somebody else come in, learn, teach, represent, right? Be able to show other people that there's a unified front. And frankly, it's done wonders for representation. It's done wonders for the way that people feel serviced in our business. So in summation, if you're thinking about growing, scaling, get out of your own damn way and let people that you trust, that you can build trust with, let them have an opportunity to show you what they're working with.
Larry, just FYI, you're allowed to curse on this podcast. You just have to keep it within like a reasonable frame of reference. Okay, so let's start there. So Larry, talk me through you don't have to take 10 minutes to doing this, but just give me a 1 or 2 minutes on kind of you coming onto the team, what you started doing, how that's changed, and kind of what you're doing now, and just your kind of thoughts on your 3 years in
Absolutely. So I knew when I started real estate, when I was getting licensed, that I wanted to be a part of a team. A lot of people, even in my class, was like, oh, I want to work for a brokerage, but I want to be by myself. And their main focus was the commission check. They were like, oh, I get this entire check for myself. Me, I knew I wanted to be a part of a team. I just didn't know which team. I knew because when you're a part of a team, you have that support. I feel like you shouldn't have to go around the mountain 40 years. When somebody's already done that, you can kind of just go with the flow of that. They can mentor you, they can give you guidance, they can give you support. And then if there's something you don't know, you have access to that knowledge right there. You don't have to go reach out to the brokerage and email them and wait for a response back. So I knew that from the beginning. I just, again, didn't know which team. And I watched Terrence and I seen him move in real estate. And I'm like, I like the way he moves. I like how he does business. I like how he's, family focused and it's relationship based. And I'm like, that's something that I want to be aligned with. And so starting off, I came in as like the assistant. I ran a lot of errands. I was eager to learn. So I was like, whatever I need to do, because it was new to me as far as being on the sales agent side of it. So I think the way I came in and the structure that he put in place was perfect, because I started from the very bottom and then I learned and gradually kind of grew in the business to where it's now I went from assistant to COO of Taking the Town. And it took time to get there. And it's a good feeling because it's like I earned that. I worked hard. It wasn't given to me.
Mhm.
And Terrence is very tough, but he's a big teddy bear. So
Amen.
it's been amazing, man. I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm still learning. I'm going to always continue to learn and grow and elevate. And I have him as right by my side to be able to assist me and guide me in this field. Because it's funny, because people are like, oh, wait, you're older than him. I may be older than him, but he has a wealth of knowledge. And in real estate, he's a beast. He's a goat at it. So, you have to surround yourself around those people who are good at what they do, because that's how you elevate.
Love it. I think you hit a lot of good things there. I mean, our world's the same thing, right? It's, what better way to learn the business than to come in and kind of learn it from the bottom up, right? You start kind of doing some grunt stuff, but you learn as you go through that process, and then you come out the other side, like you said, with this wealth of knowledge and experience. All the while, you didn't go broke because you were doing, stuff for the team and helping build the business, but you got to learn it without just kind of being tossed immediately into the fire. You both used the same word, and I think it's interesting, and I hadn't thought about this, but it's popping into my head now that I hear you both say it. You both used the word accessibility. One of my good friends a long, long, long time ago made a comment that I'll paraphrase. And it was something to the effect of, your greatest attribute is often your greatest challenge as well, just as a person, as a business owner. And at the stage of life that I'm in now, with kids that are older who don't need me very much, in my team, like, I'm infinitely accessible, right? I have, the guy I was kind of grooming to be my right-hand guy for a long time. I mean, he'd call me, text me, we'd talk dozens of times during the day. It didn't matter what time of night it was or morning it was. And I enjoy that, right? I enjoy leaning into him and teaching him and answering his questions, because how else is he going to learn? So I think my question for you two is, because I think that was something I was really good at. And now that it's not part of my world at this present moment, I feel a huge sigh of relief too, because I don't have that kind of constant distraction. So how do you guys manage that? How do you feel about it? How do you navigate that with each other? How do you respect time, but know that you're both uber important to one another and you've got to be in that constant communication? What does that look like?
I think, frankly, it's one of the reasons why I have intentionally kept what we do very tight-knit and small. I have no aspirations of building a 30-man team, right? And even coming from my background of sports and large team, and people will often say, obviously, scaling your business means more people. But the way that I like to invest and the way that I like to pour into those creates this true idea of like, I can't give more than I have. I can't be more accessible than I have access to myself. And so I will often people tell me all the time, how are you going to grow this thing out? Right? How are you going to, what are you taking on more agents? And the answer is often no, because Larry is enough. Okay. Like, by himself, because he's still learning and because we're still coaching and because there's mentorship. But Larry, I know for a fact, if Larry were to move into his own space, do his own thing, that he would be successful because of the teachings and learnings here. So I'm at my capacity only because I choose to be, with the accessibility of how he has just complete and utter focus for me, and I have focus for what he's doing, not only in a business but a personal level as well. But that takes a lot, right? And it just does. It's like having a freaking spouse, right? Like I've got to make sure he's good so I can be good, and vice versa. So I think ultimately for me, it's just keeping it tight knit, and keeping it a small focus group, so that I don't get overwhelmed, and so that he doesn't feel support, like he doesn't feel a lack of support. But again, we're still learning, we're still going through challenges, and that's the best part of growth. So
yeah. Larry, from your side, what do you guys do right, and maybe what is the bumpiest piece of kind of that accessibility? Like, give me your take on how you guys manage it.
I think for me, it's what we do right is we feed off of each other. You know, Terrence is not in control to where he's like, okay, do this, do that, do that. It's kind of like, what do you think about this? Here's the situation. What's the solution? Give me your ideas. And he opens up that door for me to come in and make it a partnership. And I think a lot of times people don't do that. Even on the flip side of that, if you're coming in, if you're thinking about joining a team or being solo, if you decide either way, you have to be eager to learn. You have to want to get that knowledge. And a lot of times people are thinking check, 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 check. And it's so much more than that. It's the picture is way bigger than that. You know, you're serving, you're dealing with different personalities. You're managing different people, and you have to be engaged. You have to continue to grow and learn, educate yourself, apply. And a lot of times, you know, people don't do that. I think with him and um, I think one of the biggest challenges is, as I'm growing, starting from assistant, growing and being a part of the company that he started, it's him, like he said, relinquishing control and saying, okay, now you're going to be my business partner. And what does this look like for us? So our challenges are still trying to figure that out. What does this look like? What does the future look like? How we're going to navigate this, and what's going to be best for T3 and best for him and I personally. So that's definitely a challenge. It's a challenge that I love taking on. We're both excited about it. Just building T3 up and figuring out what that's going to look like in the future. I think one of the other challenges too is that this is not the corporate world. Me coming from the corporate world, it's totally different. You know when you get paid, you know how much this time, and the market shifts with real estate. You know, it's the election time now. Interest rates drop. They kind of slowly went back up a little bit. People are stagnant. They don't want to make a move. And it's just like, okay, how do I navigate in the business and in my personal life? And I feed off of him. I said, okay, what did you do in this situation? What was your experience in the past? And then we kind of go back and forth about that. So that's, yeah.
I'll chime in there just for a second, Tom, and not to be long-winded, but part of being in partnership with somebody, part of having support, is there have been times where I, in my personal life, have had to disconnect from business for various reasons. And so one thing about being an entrepreneur is truly, you don't get an opportunity to go away, to hide from people, to remove yourself when necessary, not even when you want to, but when absolute necessary. And so I think one of those accessibility points is sometimes when clients feel like they can have access to you and deserve to, but you need separation from people and what your daily job is. So having somebody in place who understands what your need is from a personal space that you can't necessarily articulate on a business level, and they stand in the gap, right? And they know this is temporary, but I've got to carry the weight of both of us while you get yourself together. And there have been multiple opportunities for both him and I to do that, but more so him, right? As my life is just truly come with different obstacles, it's like I've felt relieved that I have somebody in position who can take over, even if for just a day, a week, a month, and hopefully maybe not longer than that, right? But you need somebody that you can have in position to be the access point and trustworthy to your clientele when life does not present you the opportunity to do that yourself.
I think that's an interesting look at different ways you can build a small business, right? And it makes me think of different strategies on our side, particularly like within our office. So I've appreciated building my team of grown adults who are mature and responsible, and I don't have to look over their shoulder, and who've got experience and who are intelligent and can be more of my equal and my help and my business partner. And yet there's another way to skin that cat, right? There's our best sales guy. I mean, he's built a team of younger people who he brought in at smaller salaries, and taught them and trained them. And, he's the alpha, and they are the, the people underneath him that are doing these specific tasks. And I think both of them can be successful, but that's an interesting look. I mean, you guys are way more in line with what I do, in that side. So I appreciate that. I mean, you and I are similar, right? We don't want to look over anybody's shoulder. We want to have a conversation and then have that person just take off and go crush it, right?
And sometimes it's hard to do that because mistakes in this business are critical, right? We're talking about earnest money submissions that can be lost, thousands of dollars that are at jeopardy. We're talking about inspection issues that can be overlooked if not properly handled. We're talking about legally binding documentation that you have to be able to articulate the reason that they need to trust in signing. Like, these are not small tasks. So this goes back to my point. I can't do that with 5 people at one time, right? It's because I constantly have to oversee and micromanage just out of fear, not that they're capable or incapable of doing it, but that one mistake can cost your reputation in the business. One mistake. And if you don't have somebody in position with experience to tell you how to correct your mistake, then you're toast. And that might be damaging for your representation, even if somebody is connected to you, but not you. And so it really does go back to the quality over the quantity. And over here, it is always going to be about the quality of the people, whether that is people on our team in support, the people that we're connected with in partnership, and frankly, the quality of our clients, people who understand our process is our process and not your cousin's realtor who had I had that conversation with a client yesterday. My process is mine. I can't speak on anybody else's, and I won't. I have a proven track record. We have proven track records of getting to the closing table successfully. This is our process. Are you down or not? Because if you're not, that is perfectly okay. There are hundreds of thousands of people in my position, but do they do it like me? And does that work for you?
So I'm going to pose this question to both of you. You mentioned growing the business and growing it to a certain level and not wanting to manage 30 people. I don't know that we've specifically talked about this, but I know that we're in line with this. So on my side, I'm in the same boat, right? I don't want to manage an entire company worth of people. And yet I want to do a certain amount of business.
Mm-hmm.
I am humble enough to say that I know how much business I can probably handle with my small team. And I know that provides me enough income for me to be satisfied and meet all my other goals. So my desire might only be to get to here. It's not to get to here, which maybe I could if I had 30 people. So you're similar. How do you two navigate that together? Meaning, is that a conversation that you two have had of, hey, we both agree we don't want to break everything, hire 30 people to get to here, but yet we're both satisfied here? How did you guys navigate that, or have you?
To Larry's point earlier, we're in that current season right now. Him 3 years in the game, me, I think I'm going on 7 or 8, which is kind of crazy. And that is the topic of conversation as we look to scale to the next level, because it's clear we can sell real estate. Okay. That's easy. How much? How efficiently? How much more time do we have to invest to meet certain goals? And does that fit to our lifestyle? So I can't go around telling my clients, buy for your lifestyle. It's one of my things. You guys hear me say it all the time. Buy for your lifestyle. Build business for your lifestyle. If I like traveling and eating out and enjoying the work, do I constantly want to be working with 100+ clients a year? The answer is no. But you have to find your sweet spot. And so I think we're currently in that season of what is enough? What are we looking to scale to? We're slow right now. Everybody's kind of slow right. How do we take this time to really build out what the next season looks like? And that's why I think that we do have success, is it's always looking forward to the future, right? What can we look forward to based on what we've already done? Selling real estate is easy, okay? I mean, and I hate to say that publicly because, woo, right? That might be why everybody has a license, but that's not the point of the business. It's building clientele. It's building a referral business that circulates and comes back to you. It's establishing a name for yourself, a household name, so people can come. My grandfather told me years ago, I don't search for jobs. Jobs, work searches for me. And when I heard that, I couldn't really grasp what he meant. But essentially, his reputation precedes him. People know him enough to say, I'm going to come knock on your door for this thing. And so he doesn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I like it. It's the sacrifice, right? It's what you said it, like, how much time is it going to take me, and what else am I going to have to sacrifice out of my life to maybe get to this certain level? I've said it a bunch of times, and I just think it's a funny analogy. Like, to me, it's the me having a 6-pack deal, right? Is like, it would be really cool if I had a 6-pack. I think that'd be neat, and I'd be sexy as all get out. I really like margaritas, and I'm not willing to not eat margaritas to get the 6. I'll settle for my 2-pack, and that's fine. That's enough for me to be satisfied, right? So
it's your lifestyle. It's what you have decided isn't. I mean, and honestly, it comes down to what you value. I don't value money. I've never valued money. I value experiences. I value relationships. And that is why our business model is about relationships, results, and resilience. Okay. It is nowhere in that is, I'm going to sell the sexiest, biggest house in all of Atlanta every year. I don't. 9 times out of 10, most of those people are not the people that I want to work with.
Yeah. Are those 3 R's something you just came up with, or is that something I've just missed, or is that a fly by the seat of your pants, or is
that's something you've missed? It is all over all of our marketing. It is relationships first, results next, and resilience. It is the 3 R's of T3, and we are living by that now more than ever, because people want to know that they can work with people that they can trust and really value relationships. People want results. I tell people all the time, there's 1 million problems, but there's 30 million solutions. Okay. So as long as you look at the solutions over the problems, we'll never have focus on the problems. And ultimately, the resilience part is just knowing that we will go through bumps in the road. You might have documents that are that you need to send 12 times. Somebody might give you a decline. You might have to fall out of just be resilient, because we've seen it. We've seen people who were denied 2 years ago come back and get what they want. And it always seemed like the right timing when it happened. And so you never know what's in your future and what you're preparing for, but you better be resilient through it.
So results, relationship, resilience.
Yeah, not in that order, but yes.
I like it. Mine, and we haven't talked about this. So ours has been this way for a while. It's happy, healthy, humble, and helpful.
Come on.
Yes.
And I stole a little bit of it from another guy, but appreciate it. Same thing.
Yeah.
All right. I got a fun way to end it, but you got anything else you want to touch on before we move on to my favorite part of this thing?
I would say this for those who are watching, who are new to real estate, focus on the relationships, focus on your environment, focus on mentorships. People have been through the process. They know the ups and downs. They know how to navigate through real estate. This is their profession. Listen to them, be an active listener, be humble, always want to and be willing to learn new things and not come in and say, okay, I know this already. Because if not, you're going to fail at this. You're not going to succeed, and then you're going to be back doing whatever you were doing prior to real estate. So,
And to piggyback on that, I've had a conversation with a few different clients in the last few days, and I always try to iterate that your job is not to do my job. Your job is to keep your job and afford the home that you're looking to purchase or the home that you're looking to sell. Your job is to do what you're good at. Do not try to do my job, and everything will go well for you because I am paid to do my job. And I would never come into your workplace saying, Tom, let me do mortgages. I have quite frankly told 3 people over the last 2 days, I am not the money guy, and your money business is not my business at all. But I know whose business it is. And when he gives me the green light, I know that I can continue to do my job. But until then, I can't. So we have to have people in place that we trust with their expertise. My job is not to do anybody else's job but my own. And everybody will sit there and they go, okay.
Yeah.
No problem.
It's a great way to set the stage, right? And again, I've said this a million times. You guys do such a good job with setting the appropriate expectations up front. And that's not an arrogance to say that. It's a I'm going to be here and I'm going to work very hard for you. Let me do that. And you're sitting here and you're agreeing to sign this because you trust me. So don't change that right away. Trust me and let me do what I do.
That's it. That's it. And that is the reason for success. It is it. I mean, I write every new client a thank you card as we're about to meet. And the first few words are, thank you for trusting my expertise. Wait, what? Thank you for taking the opportunity to let me be of service in what I do well. Because there are a million people that you can choose to trust, but you've chosen me. Thank you for that. Now, let's get to work.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. All right. I'm going to throw you a little curveball here today. And it's exceptionally funny just because Larry's here and what you two's personal life looks like versus what my old white guy personal life looks like. So here's the question. Instead of just something funny that you got going on, I'm going to tell you something that I got going on, and I'm going to ask you for your advice.
Okay.
Because this is all very fresh as of about an hour ago. So one of my neighbors, sweet lady, I see her walking the dog every morning for the most part. She stops me this morning and she, asks me a couple questions, tells me my taillight's out on my Jeep or whatever. And like, thanks. So we kind of go do our pleasantries, ready to move on. She goes, I got one more thing to tell you. She's like, I hate to be this person. She's like, but is it your son that drives the black truck? I said, yes, my son drives my truck all the time. She said, well, and I knew what she was going to say because he had already kind of disclosed some of this, but she proceeds to tell me that my incredibly confident 17-year-old tailgated the crap out of her on our beautiful country road the other day, to the extent that she was so frustrated and upset that when she pulled in her driveway, she got out and went to video him going by her so that she could report him, only to see him pull into our driveway, 100 yards down the road. At which point she admitted, she was like, I gotta let this sit for a while. I can't go down there and, raise hell. That's not fair to my neighbor and blah, blah, blah. So again, she proposed it. She propositioned it very sweetly and very just appropriately in the way that she handled it all. And she's like, I really thought about it. I hate being a tattletale. I know this, that, and whatever. So what do I do? My question is, how do you, I got a 17-year-old who we already know is a very aggressive driver. We are following him all the time on Life 360, watching him go 20 miles over the speed limit on a country road, which, boys will be boys, and there's that aspect of it too. And there comes a certain point where dude's not clearly learning the lesson of, you're always responsible, and this is a small town, and you've got my business logo on the back of that black truck, and everybody knows who you are. So you two, as non-parents and non-married men, how do you navigate that, in your opinion?
I will start with a question.
Sure.
Did Dom grow up watching you do what he's doing now?
I hate you. I really do. And when Amanda watches this and gets ready to put it on the internet, she's gonna die laughing. 100%, dude. That's not true. I was a very aggressive driver. And to your point, now that I think out loud, but I'm a very good driver, and that was always my excuse. I'm very confident in my abilities and blah, blah, blah. Now we live out in the middle of nowhere, and I've learned to be peaceful and slow the crap down and not worry about it. But the answer to that question is 100% yes.
So I would start with saying, I know for a fact that much of what you're doing right now stems from what you learned from me.
Yeah, it's good.
But the reality is, you have a different level of responsibility, and a target is on your back because you are not me. You are not a responsible middle-aged man, and that vehicle that you're driving represents our family and our business. So you need to be more cautious of how you move, not because you're endangering a bunch of people, but because who you represent is bigger than just you. And let me apologize by being the first one to show you this behavior. And I think that makes people go, they're accepting responsibility first for the influence that they had on me. And now the reprimand sounds a lot more justified when you start with the responsibility.
Love it.
And in his defense, how slow or fast is she going?
Doesn't matter.
Because I'm the same way. I'm like, if
Get out the
the
way.
speed limit is 45 and you're
is-
going 35, move out of my way.
And here's the other thing, and I think this is the big thing, and although I know Dom is working and he's getting some money in his pocket, but like, Dom, if you get into an accident, this is how much it's going to cost. That money's coming right out to you. What are you going to do? Right? Yeah. I'm not taking care of it. Are you ready for that? And matter of fact, if you want to continue driving this way, we're just going to continue to set money aside just in case I've got to pay that deductible in case you get into, he'll tighten it up quick.
Yeah.
He'll tighten it up quick.
I like it.
Right. So, and again, he has this luxury of being a kid who's out in the middle of nowhere, living his life. But somewhere the learning of responsibility is either self-driven or experience driven, and he doesn't want the experience of something happening that he's not prepared for.
Yeah. Well played, gentlemen. Well played.
Tell Amanda I love her, and this one was for free.
Thought I was going to stump you on parenting advice, but
oh no, I think Larry and I think just to round this thing out, part of being a good business person has been the thought of how you would handle being a parent, right? Or having to raise people up in a business outlook, or how you invest in somebody, whether they're your kids or your business partners or your staff. But all of that really is back to the relationship that you have. Yeah. And so you and Dom are literally the same person, just 30 years apart, okay? And because of that, you've got to look a little bit more introspective and say, damn, I knew this was coming. Nothing that he's doing right now surprises you. It just leaves you thinking about how to navigate it differently than maybe even you experienced, right? And so keep your cool about you, okay? And be a bit more witty, because I think Dom responds to wit more than he does to chastisement.
Yep, you're right. Yeah, that question was very full circle considering this podcast. I didn't really realize that when I made it up on the fly. That worked out well.
There it is.
All right, you two go crush the Atlanta real estate market. I'm gonna try to sling a mortgage or two.
Headed over to a new listing that should fly off the market, and got some new buyers that we're working with. So things are moving, man. We just need more of it. So if you're watching this, send your business to T3 Real Estate and Tom King and Cornerstone Mortgage, okay? Because we are ready to work.
Appreciate you guys. Be good.